Welcome back to Hold and Modify, YouTube's most poorly produced, underproduced Amiga program, and it's Q here, and today we're back in the Amiga 4000 because, oh yes, this again.
This computer will rule the world.
The Invision AGA Mark III 4000/CD32 edition. Now, those of you who watch my channel know that I have one of these currently in the 1200, and yes, after a couple videos and a lot of learnings, I did get this thing running awesomely, and it looks beautiful. You've seen it in many of my videos. Rock solid, gorgeous HDMI image, right up there with like the RGB HDMI that I have in the Amiga 500 and 600 and 2500 behind me. But now it was time to get the 4000. The 4000 this entire time has had this thing over here, this Chinesium box. Look how hairy my speaker is. That's just disgusting. The Chinesium box here that does the HDMI conversion, it's just kind of, it's not great. It's actually pretty terrible. It's functional, it's just terrible. So this is going to get the 4000 up to spec with a super clean, awesome HDMI image. And again, like in the 1200, it doesn't really require software to run. You just plug it in and it works. But to get the best image, especially if you want to map it correctly into a 16:9, you do need to run the software. There's a bunch of configuration chaos you got to go through. That's what I'm going to do in this video. We're going to get into this product. It is pretty amazing. A lot of you ask why there's no RGB to HDMI for the AGA chipsets, and that's because the GPIO, or the bandwidth that the Pis can do, as I understand it, is too narrow, and they can't handle the AGA signal. In fact, the current RGB to HDMI that's working with the OCS and ECS chipsets, I guess, is like at the bleeding edge. It's like being pushed to the max, even maybe overclocked, and the bandwidth is already almost not enough. So AGA is definitely not happening, at least now. So this kind of more old school / modern way to just brute force flicker fix the video coming off that Amiga is how you're going to get your AGAs to have that clean HDMI image that so many of you want. And yes, a lot of people get triggered by my 16:9 panels on my Amigas, but the reason is that's because the Amiga's native, high-res interlace signal is not a square pixel, image. It's not a square pixel map. It was meant for NTSC or CRT type panels. So in order to get a non-scaled or non-integer scale type setup on these converters, you do need a 16:9 panel to get the maximum width and height. Now, you could use a 4:3 monitor, but then it's going to actually have to kind of crop the Amiga image so you get the bars on the top and the bottom even on the, so now you're getting a smaller image on your square aspect panel. Like over here, the CD32, which I could use this product on, by the way, I use the S-video out of the CD32 on a square monitor because the square monitor is the closest thing to a TV, of course, that I've got. And the S-video output on the CD32, at least I find, is the most authentic look for that. I mean, if back in the day you plug a console into S-video, that was super awesome. But yeah, that's why I use these 16:9 panels to get a more accurate looking native high-res interlace type image mapped onto them. And it is definitely a little wider than just your 5x4 or 4x3 type image. All right, enough chatting. Let me start getting this thing out of the box and into the 4000. All right, so we are now open. We've got the 4000 case all happy and open here. And as you can see, yeah, there's some upgrades we've done prior. Got our Xsurf network card. Got our amazing Go Fast, Gotta Be Fast 256 megabyte RAM expansion, the native 16 megabytes of fast memory and 2 megs of chip, and our upgraded battery and a nice, beautifully clean machine, thanks to Dr. Chris. Our CD-ROM drive, and yes, tucked away in here is a BFG 060 with my amazing cooling solution. So this Mark III does have instructions, and I need to actually follow these, much like I did with the 1200. This one involves maybe bending pins. Before you can start installation, jumper J214, labeled VBB/8 meg, must be bent aside. The jumper should remain in position VBB. So yeah, it needs to be bent there to get this installed. So that'll be a lot of fun. So one of the things I want to mention here before I start ripping cards out, you may have noticed that since these are all modern expansion cards for the Zorro bus, they're all really narrow and thin. So I don't really need, like normally your Amiga would have cards in here and, you know, they'd be the kind that are, you know, way out here like this, right? Kind of blocking the motherboard. But in this case, that's not the case. They're just, they're all nice and narrow and trim and they don't really get in the way. So guess what? I don't really need to take anything out of here, which is going to make this slightly easier. So the first thing I need to do is find that famous jumper it's talking about. Another thing you might notice, I have a heatsink on my Lisa chip. That is going to need to come off. So let's see if we can find that jumper 214. So we found it right here, 214, this little bugger labeled 214. How about that? Isn't that great? Okay, so I do need to bend this. I need to take the jumper off, remembering it's in VBB first. And then, yeah, I need to pretty much take that jumper and, like me when I used to drink, you know, infer whatever this means to you. Okay, so I've now bent those flat. Okay, now with the jumper on, I will give it another little bend, a bendy bend, little Benderson. I will say that is terrifying. Obviously, I don't have any soldering skills, and if this was to pop off the pad or break or snap, this would be a disaster, and I'd be sending it to Dr. Chris. But it looks like I got away with that. Didn't do anything too tragic. The next phase now would be to pop that heatsink off the Lisa, and I'm wondering if I need to pop the heatsink off. Yeah, that's going to be a problem too. So let's pull these off. These are going to be on here pretty good. Oh boy. I think Dr. Chris used super glue when he put these on here. Oh my goodness. All right. Oh, Chris, what did you use on these things? Doop, 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 doop. All right, I'm going to spray this with some alcohol just to see if I can get that to help maybe loosen the perimeters up. Man, those are really, really on there. Jeez Louise. See, the alcohol does help. Sometimes alcohol is a good thing. My goodness, those are on there good. I'm not really too concerned about this stuff causing a problem for cooling. It's just more about, you know, the aesthetics of it and the fact that it's going to be covered up forever, never seen again. Ta-da! Happy chips. Look at that. So one of the things we shall do is plug in the cable first, because I made that mistake in the 1200, and boy, is it a pain in the butt to go and get to it. Now it is keyed, thankfully, so you can't screw this up. See how I'm putting it in upside down the wrong way? So yeah, you can't screw it up. Let's put it in the right way now. Has the auxiliary power dingus here. I know on the one in the 1200, it came with a CIA chip adapter thing that allows you to control this thing by using a keyboard command. And I believe that's what this little pin dingus is for. Yeah, so it says here, do this same for the optional CIA adapter. So I did not opt to get the optional CIA adapter. It is a neat thing to have because, again, if you don't want to install any software, if you have that CIA adapter installed, which I do on the 1200, you can use this keyboard command and it allows you to like adjust the scale and positioning, and you can adjust almost everything that the software can adjust using the keyboard commands and on-screen display. That is actually convenient. So if you don't want to worry about software, definitely order up the optional CIA option, and then you won't have to worry about having software. I will have to install the software to adjust it. Now, just a reminder, out of the box, this will work and show you a flicker-free HDMI image or VGA if you so connect that. But if you want to tweak it, you're going to need the software then, since I don't have the CIA control. And remember, do not use VGA and HDMI at the same time. Absolutely do not. Choose one and stick to it. Making sure this is happy. Go ahead and give it a good ouch. Give it a good ouch. There we go. And you don't have to go Incredible Hulk on this, guys. I know some people are like, board flex it. You don't really need to do that. Now, here's the interesting thing. We have this lovely PCB just kind of hanging out, right? What are we to do with this? On the 1200, I have it kind of hanging out the back port. I probably could get a 3D printed bracket for it, but it just kind of hangs out. One of the neat things that they do include with this 4000 version, yes, look at this, an actual bracket. So I can get this done right. Thank you so much for that. That is really awesome. It's even got the punch out for HDMI or USB and VGA, all the fun things. So you might be asking yourself, how's this going to work? If that's a USB punch out, is it? No, I mean, it just fits the HDMI. Now, the bigger question is, obviously the VGA comes with the awesome thumb screws to mount this up here. I think that's what I'm going to do. It's got a little bit of flex it can do. I'm going to put this up here, and then what I will do is run an HDMI cable in through the gap in the slot and plug it in back here. Because the HDMI does not have, if it's got standoffs here, you can see, you might be able to engineer something. But for me, I'm just going to use it to mount it up here, VGA out, and then run the HDMI inside it. Not going to go crazy tight with these because this one I'm on there so that the connector's not going to pop off. Alrighty. Okay, there we go. So we've got that on there. A little bit of slack if you can do it without breaking the board, because you don't want this board being lifted on and then just popping off the socket here. Okay, see, we're almost done. Look at that. See, isn't that wasn't such a chore, was it? Ooh, this is an HDMI cable. This is a relatively thin one, which is good. It needs to be thin and flexible. You can get smaller. I'm going to go in through the bottom slot so I have the most amount of torque. And I'm going to go above the ribbon cable. That way this doesn't add additional lifting force on the cable that's in there. Go ahead and plug it in. Right? So there it is. And in fact, this cable is giving a little bit of a push down, which, hey, I don't know if that works for everyone's setup, but that works really great for mine. Alrighty then, let's go ahead and grab some stuff. Now we know we're going to want a mouse for sure, and we're going to want our network cable because I need that software. So let's grab network cable, get that plugged in, power cable. Verify the power is off before I plug this in. Actually, the main switch is off. Okay, now we need our monitor back in a way that I can use it. We're ready to fire up the 4000 and see what happens. One of the things we should see right away, though, if this thing is working, is the kind of like the BIOS screen overlay of it. So I don't see anything happening with the 4000 yet. All right, I don't want to keep you guys in the dark. So it looks like, and some of you may have figured this out, this was too much tension on the cable. So what had happened is it had actually unplugged from the connector. So hopefully I didn't blow anything up. I mean, knowing me, I could have, but I'm going to go ahead and drop this way down so there's plenty of slack. All right, so I've now dropped this down a couple slots. We've got a lot more slack. We've got our cable coming in. So just pay attention to that. Yeah, we need to make sure this sucker is it's actually plugged in and ready to go. There you go, individual computers, yay! We got the signal already, you know it's working. So again, like I said, without even having software, it's going to work. It's going to output a flicker fixture signal. So yeah, you can see right here, it's detecting what the resolution is, NTSC, and it's putting it into 800 by 600, 72 hertz VESA. And yeah, this is awesome. Look, I mean, it's already looking really, really clean and great. And yep, sure enough, there you go. So yep, there's a Lightwave. But so one of the things you're seeing right now, which you do not see on my 1200 is, yeah, we're extra wide right now because I need to install the software and adjust the profiles to get a more proper NTSC friendly screen. So how this works, it's really weird. Like it's a smart but dumb flicker fixer. And what it looks for is you have to tell it, if you see this many horizontal pixels and this many vertical pixels, then you need to open this screen mode. And basically it looks at screens that fall within those parameters. So if you tell it like anything 600 by 300, you know, under that, then it's going to open this screen mode. If something is 800 by 600, open this screen mode. If something is 320 by 240, open this screen mode. So it looks at those pixel counts and it's like plus or minus 3 or 5. It's really weird. Doug made a great video on it. He tried to help me out with my 1200. And I still, honestly, this is one of my issues with this product, as awesome as it is. It's still extremely confusing to use. And I'm still not quite certain how to do it. I'm going to dare to try and install the software in front of you guys and click through and see if I can remember how it works. Ultimately, I just wanted to show that here it is with a NTSC Amiga 4000, and it does indeed work. It did work without any software installed. But let's try and get that software installed. So it looks like December 2022. Yep, here's the big screen modes. I'll just grab that since it's conveniently located for me right here. Probably the one I already have, but again, we're here. So let's just go ahead and grab it, and then the software. And let's go to work, and we'll go to our downloads folder, and we'll unpack the high graphics, unpack the rescue disk, and unpack the software. So cool, super cool. Now, the question, can you update the firmware from within Workbench? I don't know, let's find out. Type in Flash tool, this will tell you what it can do. All right, Flash, can you tell I use Amigas in advanced fun ways? Do you see you guys why I don't do this? This is ridiculous, I know. Okay, well, there you go. It's flashing the firmware because it's on. It's going to wipe out the image. Then the Amiga is going to reboot and crash. No, okay, I did it. Loading firmware file, flashing done. Press Control C or mouse button to continue. So the firmware has been flashed. So now we are using the latest firmware. That's a good sign. All right, so now we get to the Mark software. So the first thing you do is you go up here, right click. Oh, look at this, the software itself, flash firmware file. Ha ha! Q, you big dummy. Okay, well, you can just go ahead and do it right here if you want, or you can do how I did it from the shell, that's fine. Here we're going to do is we're going to pick a VGA mode from display data. We're going to reread monitor display data. Well, since we've never done any of that, let's go ahead and do this. 3 VGA modes added from monitors EDID. This is the monitor telling the Mark III what the heck it can do. And now that we've done that, we can go ahead and pick the VGA mode from display data. So we've got, of course, 1920 by 1080 at 60, and as well as a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, here's our 1920 by 1080, 1280 by 720, and 1280 by 1024. But we're going to leave it alone for now. We're going to leave it at 1920 by 1080. And the reason I say this is because, again, we're going to give it a pixel range of Amiga resolutions to look at, to put into this mode, okay? So the first thing we got to do is just say accept. And then over here, we're letting it know that NTSC, if it falls within 800 by 436, it's going to use the mode we've picked over here. That's my understanding of this. You're like, well, Q, NTSC is like, 720 by 480 or 736 by 482, whatever. What this is trying to do is kind of encapsulate that resolution with this preset, I believe. But one of the things you can do is you're actually going to create your own monitor over here. You're going to create your own version of this. So up here you see pre-720 by 450 NTSC. Yeah, this is why this is really, really confusing. So the first thing I want to do, test. So it's going to show us this. And so you look at this and you go, well, yeah, I mean, this looks good. Again, this is a 16 by 9 panel. The Amiga is a wide pixel format, like it's NTSC. So you're seeing it, it's oblong because it's NTSC. It's not a one-to-one square pixel type thing. So we're like, okay, and you can go in here and adjust this stuff. And basically it's looking for these number of lines on the screen, this width and height, and you can use these tools here to kind of move it around. If you want to center it up better, you can do that. You can mess with the width, the height here. Basically what I'm trying to do is make this circle on the screen look like a circle, so I don't have as much distortion to deal with. I'm like, okay, that's good. Click OK. So you're like, well, this is still all off center and not correct. Well, because it hasn't actually applied yet. That was a test. So now we can click apply. Here is our Amiga screen. Like all those adjustments we just did to the high-res interlace NTSC, now they're showing up. And then we'll say save and apply. We should be good to go. And yeah, this looks really great. I mean, this looks like the 1200. It's nice and awesome looking. Fire up Lightwave, I believe. Yeah. So, well, no, we do have a problem here. Okay, so the issue is that I can't see the top buttons for Lightwave up here. So that is a problem. This looks beautiful. I mean, it is gorgeous, but so that's an issue because Lightwave is outside of the range that it's seeing. Now, normally what I would do in that situation on the 1200 is I would use the keyboard commands using the CIA chip option to then use the mouse to actually scale the screen while Lightwave is open. One of the things I can try is going into Workbench and just adjusting overscan. So we'll go in here and we'll say like edit graphic size. So the bars, yeah, these are already pulled all the way in, so that's not going to matter. Even text, right? Yeah, these are already cranked all the way in, so that's not going to matter. Let's just go here and just bump this up to like something wild like that, and then click test. So this doesn't look like it's affected by anything. We'll say use, fire up Lightwave. And yeah, it's still way too big. So this is what I'm talking about. This is the tricky part. Let me stop for a second and see if I can figure something out. Okay, so Lightwave, I forgot. You can figure out what resolution Lightwave's opening from the display options panel. Ah, gosh, I tell you guys. So yeah, 672 by 432. So for some reason, this is not getting picked up by our Mark III's adjusted screen stuff. So 672 by 432. Okay, so we're finally back, and it's been a bit of an adventure. Now, again, I use all these 16:9 monitors because using RGB to HDMI or the Mark III, you can properly map the Amiga, as I said before, its aspect ratio properly into these big wide panels. I mean, this is a 16:9, as you can see, the Amiga is not being stretched across, and the monitors are set to 16:9 aspect ratio, not 4:3, just like RGB to HDMI over on the 2500 and my 500. When it was plugged into one of these monitors, it does the same thing. It's basically, it's not 4:3, it's not 16:9, it's somewhere in between, which is the land that Amiga lives in. And it's great. Everything looks fairly sharp and crisp and pretty awesome. I'm digging it a lot. I also, again, love these monitors because they don't moire anywhere near as bad as like this one does. And again, here's my, you may have seen this recently on the Facebook Amiga group. This is my current entry to the Amiga Artwork 2023 that Doug puts on. And I just wanted to make sure that my ball was still round and my eye was still round. Yeah, to confirm that the 1200 is a Mark III is being happy and playing nice. And the thing that's got me a little confused right now is that, as you can see, here is Lightwave. And yes, it's, again, like Workbench, it's correctly, being displayed not quite 16:9 and not quite 4:3, but, somewhere in the middle. And it works. You can see everything here on the screen. And if I quit, and I don't even quit, we'll just go back out to Workbench. And yeah, Workbench, as you can see, fits nicely how it's supposed to, and everything's great. And when we come over here, yeah, Workbench is great. Everything fits how it's supposed to. And if I launch Lightwave over here, though, I'm still getting this issue where the, sure, left to right, it's fine, but the top and bottom is cropped. And I thought maybe it had something to do with the overscan settings in Workbench. I went through and played with those, and that was not the case. I went into overscan, adjusted these modes, and they're all within spec. I'm not sure what to do. I'm kind of stuck now trying to get Lightwave to work within the screen settings. I even copied the settings from the Mark III over to here just to see if that would help, and it didn't. It got me a little further, but I'm just running into this problem where Lightwave's screen is just getting cropped, and I do not, for the life of me, I have clicked on all of these things, and I've tried wacko settings just to get Lightwave to fit within the monitor, and it will not fit. So any of you out there who are Mark III experts, and Doug, I know you've helped me before if you're watching this, maybe there's something obvious I've missed yet again, or if anybody else has any insights as to why Lightwave's screen is not working. And again, Lightwave opens up a standard high-res interlaced screen, but it does use 672 by 432 pixels. And Modeler does pretty much a very similar thing. And I'm getting this top and bottom crop where I can't get to the top and bottom of the program, which is really, really frustrating. But anyway, as you can see, the Mark III is operating great despite all of my chaos and manipulations. And this is turning out to be another successful install. Yay! And the Mark III is a great product. Once again, as always, I'll put a link in the description below. Yeah, the software is overwhelming me, and any help that you guys can give in the comments below, I'll keep an eye out. And if anyone has super awesome advice, I'll just pin that comment to help anybody else out who can that way they don't have to scroll through the comments and stuff. Thanks for watching. For now, I'm done with this video.